get our steak marinating. So what we've got here is some local grass-fed sirloin cuts. These are bone-in actually, and we're going to have some onion, garlic, basil, oregano. Thyme is also another good choice. Olive oil, salt, pepper, and actually I like putting a little acid in there too. So we're going to use just a little bit of balsamic vinegar because again, Greek, Italian, you're all talking Mediterranean flavors there, so it's really going to work pretty well. I've just got a couple of steaks going here because it's a small meal, so I'm going to use about a quarter onion. So I'm going to take about half of what I've got here, just to give it some flavor. And we can actually, when we grill these out on the grill, put these on the grill, we can we'll actually have some of the onions right there with the steak, so that's going to be pretty good. So again, I'm going to use about half of this, always making sure I'm not going to cut my hands open here. Probably some 1/4 inch thick. Again, some of this is going to go on the grill with the onions. You could actually use some dried onions as well, but I prefer using fresh when at all possible. And probably one more, get that out of the way. So we got a nice good amount of onion here. Again, we can even pull these off and grill them on a pan on the stove, and that'll be a nice side with our steak when we're done. So I've just got a zip top back here. These are great for marinating meat in. No cleanup at all, don't have to worry about it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw my onion in here, get that going. Got some olive oil, probably for these couple steaks, probably only talking maybe about 3 tablespoons. You don't need a lot. Again, this is just to have something going on in the background. So we've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil, probably about maybe 1.5 teaspoons of balsamic. Balsamic's pretty potent, so you don't necessarily want to go overboard with this. Just a little bit of background. Get that out of the way. Garlic. Got our nice head of garlic here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to peel out 1 clove. Again, this is something you could, if you need to, you could use dried, but again, if you've got fresh, it's always better to use fresh. Do our typical on the board, back of the knife, give it a little whack. I try not to hit them too hard because I like being able to cut the clove up without having too much of an issue here. The end that was at the bottom, I tend to just cut that off and discard that. And we are going to mince this because as much as I love garlic, a lot of people don't like getting that big piece of garlic in their mouth. So I'm going to cut this pretty thin into slices. And then we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it the other direction and get it minced. So pretty big pieces here. I mean, obviously we're not going to want that in our steak. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just coming through here and I'm just going to start mincing this back and forth, both directions. You notice I am using a wood board here. Makes it a little bit easier to work on, but you definitely see I do not have my steak on the wood. You always want to use a plastic board, something that can be sanitized if I have meat on there. So with my vegetables, wood is real good. It's very easy on the knife as well. You can certainly use more or less, up to you. I find, while you can just go ahead and put just cut a steak, cut a chicken, whatever you want, right on the grill without too much in terms of, oil or salt or pepper or anything. It's really pretty one note. It's pretty boring. So, the more flavors you get into the meat, it's obviously a better dish. And actually, I found myself actually using a little bit less protein portions by just having more flavor in there. So a big steak like this, I can easily get for myself a couple servings out of. Grab my minced up garlic. I'm going to throw this in with my onion, olive oil, and balsamic. Get the last little bit off my board here. So everything I've got in here, again, I didn't put in my basil or oregano yet, so probably got a good teaspoon each. Here I am using dried. A couple of cranks of salt. I'm a big pepper person, so pepper's really good here. I got about 6 good turns in there. Right now, if you want, I'll give it a little mix in here just to see how it looks. I could probably use just a little bit more olive oil in there. This is something we're going to go ahead and we are going to put this in the fridge on a plate for at least an hour. If you don't have a lot of acid in here, you can actually let it go overnight. If you were using a lot of vinegar, red wine vinegar, a lot more balsamic, it's something you wouldn't want to leave for a long, long time because it will actually start breaking down the meat. Get our zip top bag. Try to get this worked in there a little bit. Make sure we get nice coverage. See here, I got the nice herbs. That's gonna crust up. That's gonna look nice. Zip this up. Off we go. All right, so we've got our marinated steak out of the fridge. I actually took it out of the fridge about an hour ago after giving it a good hour because you never want to cook a meat on a grill, or actually meat anywhere, cold. If you can actually take it at room temperature, it's going to work out a lot better. So now that you can see here, it's nice and it's actually looking really good in here with all the spices and the onions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this out to the grill and we'll meet you out there. All right, so we're out here. We've got our grill up to temperature. As you know, I pretty much use indirect heat no matter what I'm cooking. So I've got my side 2 burners on medium. My middle is actually off. Got my steak out here. A couple of tongs just to keep my hands from getting too grubby. So let's go ahead and open up our grill. Get our steaks over here. Put these over here. And since I did take the time to put those onions in there, I'm also going to take some of those onions out and put some of those on there. Oh, the smell is really good. You can definitely smell all the spices. Grab some of these onions. And actually, after I flip these, I'm going to try to keep these onions too and put those back on because those I think will be a real nice accompaniment to our steaks. Since I did have these steaks brought up to room temperature before putting them on here, they're really not going to take a whole lot of time. Probably I'm going to give these probably about 5 minutes on the first side, check them, and then we're probably going to flip those over and give them maybe 3 to 5 minutes on the second side, but we'll see how they look in just a minute. All right, so our steaks have been on the first side for 5 minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at those. Those are looking really nice. Again, I'm just going to put the onions off to the side here because I don't want to lose too many of them. I do want to use these. I'm a big fan of onions. A lot of people think that the raw onions are a little bit too much, so by just giving them a little bit of heat and with the marination, the marinade here, they're going to be pretty nice. See here, get this one flipped up. Some nice grill marks on there. And this is one of those times where I really wish you folks could smell this because it smells really wonderful with all of the spices we put in there, the oregano. A little bit of that color is from the balsamic that we used, but remember we didn't use a lot of it, just a little bit to give it some, a little bit of acid, a little bit of flavor in there. These are pretty thin steaks. They're maybe about 1 inch thick, so it's only going to take probably 3-4 minutes, and then I'm going to pull those off. Of course, we're going to let those rest for a few minutes. Yeah, those are looking good. Remember, we're going to let these rest for at least 5, if not 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off, make sure we get all our nice onions here. Put this on. We're going to go ahead, probably put a piece of foil over this to help keep some of the heat in there. And all those juices are going to, go back up and, be retracted in the meat, and those are going to be really, really tasty. All right, so we're back inside now. Again, we gave our steaks a good 10 minutes to rest. What's nice about keeping the foil on there is you can keep the heat in there so you can still serve warm steak, but you don't want it to be, unrested, because as soon as you cut into it, it's gonna just bleed all over. So we're gonna open that up there. You see there, the onions are still very white, but they are cooked, and in with the marinade and all the spices, it's picked up the flavor of the steak, so it's a nice combination there. With a bone-in meat like this, you've got 2 good portions here, plate that up with the other dishes we've talked about recently, and it's really going to be an excellent meal for you. Hope you enjoyed the recipes. Hope you enjoyed your time with us. Yamas, enjoy.